Today, Baba tells us that if we imbibe the virtue of tolerance, we will not have to take the support of falsehood. Now you see that if you speak the truth or be who you are, okay, so falsehood is not just speaking what is not true, but also, every kind of a body consciousness that we take over is a form of falsehood. So, why do I have to take the support of falsehood? What happens if I come across as I am, or I don't hold the crutch of body consciousness? Or if I speak the truth, what happens? So, if you ask yourself, you will figure out that when we are true, when we are, when we behave egolessly, or we don't take the crutch of body consciousness. So, let's say, for example, you are a Brahmin. Yes, so what is the dress of a Brahmin? The dress of a Brahmin is plain white clothes, simple living. Yes, but when you go and meet somebody, why do you have to adorn yourself with gaudy clothes? Or, something else? What happens if you just, so every Brahmin, innately, we are in touch with our original nature, and we are very comfortable with our Brahmin culture, and we are truthful, and we know the truth, and the truth is, the truth is not very pleasant to hear for somebody who doesn't know the truth. But what happens when we just be ourselves and speak the truth? Then sometimes, people don't accept us or approve of us, or, they resist our behavior, or they resist some things, or they give a reaction or a comment or something. And then what happens is, you have to have the capacity to tolerate that. Yes, I will give you one example. So, a sister, she told me that when she was going for a marriage in the family, so she was invited, so she was going there, so she just wore plain white clothes, and then everybody was looking at her like she's very different from everybody. And then she started crying. She started feeling very bad about it. So why did she cry? Not because of what other people did, but because of this capacity to tolerate. Yes, so this capacity to tolerate, or this capacity to accommodate everybody's vibrations without getting affected by it, this is what you need to have. And if you have that, then there is no need for any falsehood. So see, if you are in a stage where you are not comfortable with white clothing, that's a different story. But if you are comfortable and still you are, you're putting on something because you don't have the capacity to tolerate, then that is a form of falsehood. Yes, let's say, let me give you one more example. There's one sister, and she once told me that when she came to Baba, she started, she started understanding that staying alone and practicing soul consciousness is what she wants to do. And then she declared to everyone that, now I don't want to engage in wasteful conversation. Don't call me. Don't waste my time. And then everybody, for some days they kept calling. They kept, asking her about, some other stuff, talking and other stuff. But then after that, they stopped calling her. And then she did not feel comfortable. Why? Because you see, in body consciousness, falsehood is normal. And if you want to tune into the truth, then you need a lot of tolerance. Even to follow Baba's Srimad, you need to tolerate. You need, sometimes, it's not a reaction from outside, but it's a reaction from your own sanskars. And your sanskars of feeling lonely or feeling insulted or feeling something else, that will emerge. And you need to be able to tolerate those sanskars. You need to be able to tolerate whatever is happening. And then you see, if you speak the truth, for example, if you tell somebody who's in denial that, everybody needs to work on themselves, maybe there'll be a reaction. Yes, but sometimes we, instead of facing the reaction, we tend to speak what is not true. And we tend to tell them that, it's okay, it's right that you're blaming somebody else or some situation. Why? Because we don't have the capacity to tolerate their reaction. Yes, so Baba says, if you want to think, speak, and act in consonance with the truth, then you have to have the capacity to tolerate. And because you see, if you look at history of the world, whenever the truth is spoken in a world of falsehood, there is a lot of reaction. Yes, so the first time ever somebody said that the world is round, the world is not flat, then that person was hanged to death or poisoned. I don't remember, but I think poisoned. And why? Because the world doesn't have the capacity to accept the truth right away. We live in a world of falsehood, and whatever is, natural and whatever is in consonance with our original qualities, for example, purity. So when you embrace purity, then also there is a lot of reaction, and people give you many labels, titles, very demeaning, and names are called. And then you have to understand that if you don't have the capacity to tolerate, then you will slip into falsehood. You will, your heart will say that it's okay. It's better I engage in lust than hear all these insults. So this is the way, this is what Baba is saying. So this spiritual path, it requires a lot of capacity to tolerate. And how do you develop this capacity? Through yoga power. So only through remembrance of Baba do you cultivate power. So if you want to be true to your original nature, if you want to speak the truth, if you want to follow the directions of Shiv Baba, which is Srimad or true directions. So Baba's directions are Satyamat, the true directions. So if you want to follow the true directions, if you want to speak the truth that Baba speaks, if you want to, be aligned with your own true nature of purity and peace and love and, power and self-respect, if you want to be like that, then you have to have a lot of power to tolerate. Just this one thing, that detached and loving, so our original quality, our true quality is to be detached and loving. But when you start becoming detached and loving, then, everybody, they will start having a reaction. So, they will, everybody around you will start saying that I don't feel connected with you, or you are sending vibrations like, there's no connection, because the connection of attachment is, now changing into a connection of detached and loving, and that's a new thing. And anything new is not comprehensible. Do you know what do we fear? We don't fear what's wrong and bad, we fear what's unknown and uncertain. So, any kind of newness. So, you see, we belong to a world of falsehood. We stayed in our false nature, we spoke false words, we behaved according to Ravan Mat, and all that was falsehood. And everybody in the world is used to that. And now, when you start adopting the truth, then that truth upsets everybody and it becomes uncomfortable to digest. And even your own sanskars, they feel very, they feel upset. They disturb you from inside. I will tell you one example. There's one sister, and she's taking the course now, and she's very happy to understand whatever Baba is saying. She loves Gyan. She's complete intellectually. She's in complete consonance with what Baba is saying. So she understands that yes, I am a soul. She understands we came from the soul world. She understands that whatever we are doing here is false, and our true relationship is with Baba. And yesterday, I was giving her a meditation on the soul world, and when you leave the body and go to the soul world, recharge and come back. And then after the meditation, she told me, let me ask you one question. So I said, yes, please ask. So she said, I am okay, I understand everything intellectually, but then why do I feel like my whole body is, in shivering in fear? So whenever I'm meditating or doing anything, so I'm feeling this surge of fear. And so I said, that's because you are stepping out of your comfort zone. And when did you leave the body and travel out of the body? So you never even thought about it. We are so attached to this body, or attached to people, things, places. So we never even take a second to let go of that thought. And now that you are letting go of that thought, it will make you uncomfortable, because the sanskar is to always be attached. Have you seen that, suppose you have a child, and you are doing something and you get busy in it, and then you suddenly remember that you have a child and you have not been thinking about the child, then you feel like you did something wrong. Because there is so much of this sanskar of thinking about the body, or not even thinking, not even conscious thinking. It's like we are attached like this. And then when Baba tells us the truth, and you want to embrace the truth, you want to be soul conscious, you want to remember Baba, you want to speak the truth in this world of falsehood, or you want to follow Baba's directions, you want to adopt a life of purity in this world where, only the ones who become impure are celebrated. So then when you start doing all of this, then it won't be smooth. There'll be a lot of resistance, both inwards and from the external circumstances. And for that, you need to have the power to tolerate. And Baba tells us that, you cannot put Gyan into practice without the power of remembrance. Why? Because as soon as you start putting Gyan into practice, there is Maya. And what is Maya? Maya is resistance. Yes, so resistance from outside, resistance from inside. And then how do you manage those resistances? So for managing those, you need to have the power to tolerate. And that you get from Baba's remembrance. Just this little thing of overcoming sensual pleasures, eating food on Baba's directions, or staying celibate, or these eyes and ears, if you don't want to engage them in wasteful stuff, there is so much of withdrawal because of that also. And you need to have the capacity to stabilize yourself in the face of so much resistance from the body, from the mind, from the sanskars, from circumstances, and you need basically a lot of power to tolerate. And I will also talk about one more thing. Even when you remember Baba, so if Maya is having control over you, then Maya is happy. But if Maya is not able to control you, and then you are every day having good remembrance of Baba, then you will see that even in yoga there is a lot of resistance. Yes, so many impure thoughts and dreams and so many stuff, they will just emerge in yoga. If you're doing, if you are really doing yoga every day. So I have experienced this, and I have also understood this from the sharings of those who are doing, regular yoga and good yoga with Baba. So, sometimes you will feel like, you're very tired inside, or there's something pulling you down, or you will see bizarre scenes or something. And there was one mata, and she said that whenever I sit in yoga, I see only stuff which I don't want to see. So it's all there in my intellect all the time, and it kind of discourages me from sitting in yoga. So these things will also happen, and then also you have to use the power to tolerate. And whatever is happening, just let it be. So don't absorb don't absorb the vibrations, or the thoughts, or the signals, or the words of whatever is happening, and just tolerate it and merge it, and just keep making effort. And then you will have yoga with Baba, because resistances come and resistances go. But the thing is, you don't have to get caught up in it. And you will not get caught up in any resistance only when you have the power to tolerate. I remember the first time when I started wearing white sari and everything. So at that time, I was working in an office, and when first time I went to the office in this sari, so just imagine, yesterday I was wearing colored clothes, and today I just started wearing a sari, and I started going like this. And then there was so much resistance, and through the drishti, through the vibrations, through words, you could hear everything. And then I used the power to tolerate. And in 1 week, after 1 week, everybody started saying, I get the feeling of an angel, or it's so nice to have you in the office, or this is a very refreshing environment that you're creating in the office. But it was not like that for the first 1 week. And only, when you have the power to tolerate. And what is tolerate? Tolerate means not react internally, not react externally. Yes, so not just external reaction isn't there, but no internal reaction. And that's why tolerance is a capacity. You cannot just think that I'm going to tolerate and tolerate. So you have to build that capacity or power to tolerate through Baba's remembrance. Yes. And when you speak the truth, just think about, you see, when Shiv Baba started speaking the truth through Brahma Baba's body, that you are pure and your original nature is purity, and then children started embracing purity. Then what happened? So in Sindh, what happened was, there was a lot of upheaval, and people even tried to burn Baba's home and places and everything. So these things will happen. So whenever when in a world of falsehood, when you speak the truth, become truthful, or follow the true directions, then there will be a lot of upheaval. And in that, you need the power to tolerate. And otherwise, what will happen is that upheaval will disturb you. And then you will start adopting falsehood. You will say, it's better that I act falsely, or I say what suits the ears of this other one, or I behave in a manner which is not according to Srimad. So this is why Baba says that if you don't want to use falsehood, have the power to tolerate. How to not have internal reaction? Only when you have the capacity to tolerate. So if you are remembering Baba, just look at your chart. If you are remembering Baba for 1 hour, 2 hours in a day, then make it 5, 6, 8. So only when there is 8 hours of Baba's remembrance do we gain all powers. And just like when you do something, you understand or you realize what benefit it gives you. Similarly, how yoga power can change your internal world, and how you don't feel things you felt earlier, how your mind doesn't work, how it worked earlier, can only be realized when you pay attention to having Baba's remembrance. And today's Murli is all about that. Yes, today's Murli is all about Baba asking us to practice soul consciousness and remembrance of Baba, because Baba says, the subject of knowledge that everybody has, internalized. But Baba says this practice of soul consciousness and remembrance of Baba is lacking in children. And in the blessing today, Baba talks about how to have constant and easy remembrance of Baba. And Baba says, for that, you need to first sit on a lotus seat. Yes. And so you see, sometimes we don't understand the process. So, first is sitting on a lotus seat. First is not carrying the burden of thoughts in the mind, not carrying the burden of old sanskars, not carrying the burden of perishable, attainments, not carrying the burden of physical relationships. Now, how do you not carry the burden? So, how does burden come into place? So, see, there is a bottle, okay? If I am not holding that bottle is not my burden. Yes. And the longer I hold the bottle, the more burdensome it becomes. So, Baba says, the thoughts are there, the sanskars are there, the attainments are there, perishable things are there, always constantly, in a state of instability, or the relationships are there, the relationship issues are there. But how do you become burden free? Just by knowing that I am not these. I am a soul. So, these two words, I and mine, these are the reason for burden. And when you understand that it's all there, I'm a trustee taking care of them, but this is not me and this is not mine. And you train yourself, you practice enough to be soul conscious, that I'm just a soul. And my essence is peace. My essence is not worry or overthinking or, thinking about things and belongings and people. That's not my nature. So just become a point and sit in your state of peace. Emerge that awareness that it's all there, but it's not me or mine. And I am just a being of light, a being of peace. And then emerge what you have to do as a soul. So one is leaving body consciousness. So leaving body consciousness is the first step. So sitting on the lotus throne is not being influenced by the physical world. But then, what is soul consciousness? Soul consciousness is not just the absence of body consciousness, but very consciously thinking about who you are. What is your journey? What is your aim? What is your quality? So, when you start thinking about, what is your quality? My quality is peace. Where is my home? My home is the soul world. Who is my father? My father is Shiv Baba. What is the journey I have had? And then where am I in this journey right now? And what is my duty towards myself? Yes, so just like, in the body conscious world, you have a story about yourself always in your awareness. Yes, I've come from this clan or these parents, and then I'm so and so, and then I have to achieve this or that in life. Similarly, when you're soul conscious also, there is a story in your awareness about who you are, what is your quality, where you've come from, what is the journey you have made, and what is your duty towards yourself at this time, or what is your aim as a soul. So your aim is to go back to the sweet home and then come to the new world. So then, just like, when you're body conscious, you remember the one according to your body consciousness. So, for example, if you think you're a businessman, you will remember the client. If you think you are a mother, you will remember the child. If you are in the awareness that you're a wife, you will remember the husband. So, similarly, when you are soul conscious and you understand that your aim is to purify yourself and go back to your home, sweet home now, then you will remember Baba, because Baba is the purifier. And you know why we find it very difficult to remember Baba? Because I'm not soul conscious. Yes, just like you see, when a child is little and he doesn't understand his aim, that he has to, study and earn and become somebody, then he will be distracted by play, by friends. Similarly, because I'm not soul conscious, I don't understand my aim, that I'm a soul, this is the end of my journey of this cycle, and I have to go back. If I don't churn this enough, if I have not taken out time to think about who I am, to see myself as a point of light who has come from the soul world, and to build and to feel that, and to realize, think so much that I come to a realization that I am at the 84th step of the ladder and I have to just go back now. If you don't sit in this realization, you can't remember Baba, because other things will distract you. So only with this aim can you remember Baba. And so Baba says there are very few children who make this effort, to be soul conscious and remember Baba. And Baba says everything happens through everything happens through remembrance. So remembrance of Baba is the main subject. Yes, so it changes you from a papatma to a punyatma. And what is the difference between papatma and punyatma? Divine virtues. Yes, so when you are a papatma, then there are devilish sanskars, and then when you are a punyatma, you have divine virtues. So whether it is virtues, whether it is powers, they are all imbibed through Baba's remembrance. But Baba says very few children, they make this effort to be soul conscious and remember Baba. And you see, in this world, if you look at generally also, if you look at the sanskars of people, so at this point of time, people don't have the ability to practice something with, consistency. So, earlier arts and, dance and music, People were lot of people were into it, and that requires practice and patience. But these days, you see, not many people are into even dance or music or art or any kind of training, because that patience, that ability to practice is very low. And Baba says, here you have to sit and churn, on yourself, churn enough about the knowledge that Baba has given you about yourself, so that you come to a place of realization. And then you remember Baba, and that also requires you to sit and connect your yoga to Baba and, receive Baba's love, blessings, powers. And that requires patience and practice. And Baba says only those children who do this, they are able to be saved from the punishment of Dharamraj. Because if you don't burn your sins in this life, then you will have to dissolve them through punishment. And then Baba says only this practice is going to absolve you of your sins. And Baba says this is the practice which is going to make you a bead of the rosary. So, if you want to be the first ones in the rosary when the new world is created, then also it is this practice of remembrance of Baba that is going to help you. And then Baba says that only through this practice you can spread the vibrations of peace. So you see, many a times people want to, or be Baba's children also, they want to donate peace, or donate or create an atmosphere of purity and peace. But how can you do that? Only when you sit in this soul consciousness and remember Baba. And Baba today also tells us that our heart is in the soul. Yes, so when you say heart, so when you say, I want to connect my heart to Baba, so that heart is not this heart. Yes, it's the heart of the soul. So Baba says when you say heart, you associate it with feelings, with love. And that is not this physical heart. This physical heart is just a pumping organ. Yes, but when you say connecting your heart, so that means this, the heart is in the soul. And precisely the heart is a part of the buddhi. So when you connect your buddhi with love, that's like connecting your heart. So, in your buddhi, you have to have that knowledge of who Baba is emerged, so that you can have love in your heart for Baba. And only when you are in awareness can your heart have love for Baba. So this is also something that Baba clarifies. Okay, Om Shanti. Anybody wants to share anything, please do.
Om Shanti Didi.
Om Shanti.
About Raj Yoga, what I understand is that mind and intellect are the two tools of soul which has to be trained in the way Baba has told us. And it requires regular and consistent and more practice. And more we practice, more we are able to have command on that.
Correct.
And just as we see some artists and people who create music, I have observed that even for creating a music, they require very silent and peaceful environment.
Correct. Yes.
And they have to be very concentrated on that particular subject.
Yes.
And distractions affects their creation also.
Correct.
And here also we are sitting for creating our destiny, our future, and purpose of life has to be in awareness.
Correct.
With that also.
Yes.
Yes. This is what I understand.
Of course. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Hanji.
Om Shanti Didi.
Om Shanti.
Today in the entire class, it was an experience that you were describing my journey of following Srimad during the last few years. Like the way you said that every step when we follow the Srimad and we face resistance from others, and more than that, from our own sanskars.
Correct.
So I felt like even a small thing like being detached and loving with my children or with my best friend. So when that emotional connection was lost, I felt that resistance from my own sanskars, that it is not right. Sometimes I felt like that. And then I had to get over those sanskars. And I could feel that remembrance of God helped me understand that this is moving away from falsehood and it is not wrong. It is like accepting the true self that I am actually.
Right.
So this was like you are describing my journey at the every step that I have tried to follow Srimad.
Yes.
So even like losing emotional connection with people. So now I do try that I have that connection with Baba, but that emotional connection is still not there. I feel the same connection that I used to have with people in the physical world. That emotional bond I'm still not able to make with Baba. So there is still like a longing or a desire unfulfilled that is still there. That sometimes that I have to make with Baba, that still I have to work on that more.
And when you work on that, you will be able to again have an emotional connection with everybody, which is based on true emotions of love, not of attachment, but of love. So Baba doesn't ask us to, dissociate. There's a difference between dissociation and detachment. So detachment means you have changed attachment into love. But dissociation means you don't feel connected. Yes, so, but when you start having loveful feelings for Baba, then you will start having that loveful feeling towards everyone. And you will not feel that vacuum. So, listen to, if you can't, invoke that love for Baba in your heart, then listen to very loving, commentaries or commentaries full of love, or listen to songs full of love for Baba, and then you will have that love, because that cord of love has dried for Baba. So because in bhakti it was very formal, so there was no love. So now that you have to revive that cord, so you can take the help of sweet songs, sweet commentaries, and then when you revive that, then you will see a shift in your relationship with everybody also. So that will also change from dissociation to very loving. Okay. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Priti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
I just wanted to clarify, like being soul conscious, like stillness is one thing, silence of the mind is second thing. I mean, to get thoroughly you have to apply physical stillness, mental stillness, and then you take it, but thoughts keep coming here and there like waves. They keep thoughts of this world, and that accurate remembrance gets disturbed.
That happens because we have to not only keep the mind silent, but we have to also think about the soul. That's what I said. Not just detach, but think about the soul and create soul consciousness. So the mind, the thoughts in the mind have to be replaced with thoughts of the soul or thoughts about Baba. And then these distractions will go away. Otherwise, you just want to keep the mind still, the mind will be pulled by matters of this world.
And one thing I really liked in devotion, like with beat, you have you do the remembrance, and here Baba says you become a beat with remembrance.
Correct.
So this I really liked.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. Om Shanti. Yes.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Today we were discussing about the power of tolerance, and in my experience, I think I have been using this power for a very long time, but there is still a lot of things to be done from my side also. I want to give two examples of what I'm facing. First is I was having a discussion with my mother regarding some locking relationships. It was about my daughter also, and also about some relations also. So I said that this conversation is going towards negativity. So she just reacted like anything. Like she told me that this is not going towards negativity. This is just a discussion between a mother and daughter, and now you are going to teach me that you know more than me and all. So then I kept quiet and I listened to her what she was telling me. I heard it and I was like, then I didn't say anything. So these type of resistance is always happening. That if even some candidates, if I tell her that this is going towards like this and you have to change it or no, you don't do anything, this happens like this and all.
So, in these situations, avoid these words which, trigger somebody's ego.
Yes.
So instead of saying, this is going towards negativity, you would just say that, we will discuss this some other time. Now I have to attend to this, or I have some work.
Yes.
So because when you attack somebody's ego, their defense mechanism will get activated. So obviously they won't say yes, you're right. So instead of using these words and labeling somebody, just have a way out where you don't engage in wasteful discussion, protect yourself, and not even hurt somebody's ego.
Yes, and also just sometimes I don't want to go there and sit and talk and all, because I know that once we will start talking, even if it is between a mother and a daughter, it will go towards that discussion only. उसके बारे में ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, and I will drain myself. And sometimes I avoid completely to go there and sit also. So
no, but then you see, you have to ascertain how much of it is required to maintain the relationship. Don't do extra, but don't behave in a manner which gives an indication that you're trying to avoid people. So, you have to discern, and then while you are at it, it's your duty to protect your sanity. Not that, if I go, I'll get drained. No, then why are you a tapasvi? You have to protect your sanity. Na? So you don't have to drain yourself just because somebody is saying something. In that manner, we would get drained like anything. We listen to every kind of stuff all day. So no, not that way. You have to listen like a teacher. You have to listen like, you have to, apart from listening, you keep giving good drishti, vibrations to that soul also. How will you serve? Okay, so that's all for today. Om Shanti.